Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Peek and Pit podcast with me, your host, Diana. And, like, you guys, when I tell you I've been wanting to talk to this girl for years, I am not exaggerating. And me looking at her right now, she's in the most, like, Helene in between atmosphere. I could not have picked it better. But we have Helene Sula from Helene in Between on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited, and I am in an interesting setting. I have like the most epic mountainscape in front of me, so I am outside. So sorry if it doesn't sound perfect, but it was better than the pub inside with loud music.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. We were just talking about how the people next door to us just decided to start building their house this morning, so we've got a little bit of a sound issue, but I think it'll be okay.
Yes, definitely.
No, I think it's so like when you were showing me the background of where you were, I was like, this girl's life could not be any more unique and incredible and like once in a lifetime, you know?
For sure. No, it is. I feel super fortunate. It's not anything I ever thought I would be doing, but it's very cool to be living abroad and writing about my travels and sharing them. I love it. So
Yeah, I love what you showed, just like showing people to really take advantage of a Tuesday. If you have a free few hours, go visit that museum you've never been to or something.
yeah.
I love that.
For sure. Yeah. I think,
Cool.
I basically came from a background of very normal corporate life. And as soon as I realized that just making the most of your time is so important, you never know how much time we have and what we can do and see. So, yeah, I really think that I've kind of dedicated my life to making the most of time, no matter where I am. And it's become kind of an obsession in the sense that I am home 3 out of the next 41 days, but I get to explore the world and I love doing that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, for anyone who doesn't know her, Helene is a travel blogger, an author, like travel expert. She puts together Christmas market cruises. She does it all. Am I missing anything?
Well, I guess I'm trying to think. Yeah, no, I like to. I consider myself a blogger primarily. That's how I got started. So I started blogging 12 years ago now, so a really long time, and I just was kind of blogging about my life, and then grew into an influencer through social media, and I'll do also offer courses. So I have like an Instagram course. I just published my very first book, which has been a dream of mine. And yeah, I still share on social media and my blog about moving abroad, about traveling, and kind of, yeah, making the most of your time.
Yeah, I love that. I'm so excited to dive into all of that with you. But first, in true peak and pit fashion, I always like to begin the episode with the peak of your week and the pit of your week, aka the best and worst part. So, what has been the peak of your week so far?
So I just finished a 9 day, no, not nine, 9 city book tour across the US. And I did that in 11 days with 2 international flights. And I think that, it was really exciting, but uh, I think one of the coolest things that happened was the fact that I got to see people in person that I've been following for years and really got to meet people. I became an author first and foremost, which has been a dream of my whole life. But because I got to interact with people that I've been following and interacting with for years, it's just kind of made me realize sometimes you feel like you're speaking into the void where you're on
Mhm.
Instagram or a blog and is anyone really out there? And to publish a book and then have people come on the tour and show up. We had people drive in. We were in Nashville. We had people drive in from Indiana. We had people fly in from Fargo, North Dakota to Denver. So we had people fly and drive like hours and hours. And I think it just made me realize that sometimes it feels like, what am I doing? Does it matter? And then you see people come to see you face to face and you realize, like, yes, you can have an impact on someone's life. It doesn't have to be the traditional sense. You can have an impact on someone's life. Someone asked me the other day, they're like, do you see yourself as a role model? And the answer is yes, because if I can help someone to travel more, move abroad, or just live their life in a more fulfilling way, then I think that it's worth it. And so that
A
really seeing
hundred
people
percent.
in person, I think made that feel real.
Yeah. Was it kind of surreal to be like, oh my gosh, all of these people are here for me?
Yeah, I think in Dallas, I'm from Dallas, Texas. And so I'm currently living in England, and I wrote a book about my first move abroad to Germany, which is a place I'd never stepped foot in before. And so I went to Dallas was like midway through our tour, almost the end of the tour, and I was in the back room signing books because people had bought signed books, and I came out of the door and there was over 200 people in the store. It was like completely packed. People are all over the place, and so it just felt like, okay, this is cool. I'm not sure I'll ever get that experience again, but yeah, it did feel surreal.
Yeah, it's what a cool picture of this is exactly what you're supposed to be doing in your life. Keep going.
Right.
Like this is what I made you for, you know? I know you've made an impact on my life, so there's probably hundreds of thousands of other people that feel the same way. So that's incredible. My peak is not that cool.
We all have different
um,
weeks. I have, we all have good weeks, bad weeks, exciting weeks, and not exciting weeks.
So true. Yes, my peak of the week happened yesterday. I had an appointment that was an hour away because that's what happens when you live in a city again. And there was a Trader Joe's next to it. So I went to Trader Joe's for the first time in 4.5 years, and that was fun.
Ooh, Trader Joe's is awesome. They have so much
Yeah.
fun stuff. It's just like it's a sensation for the senses.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The flower aisle and the snack aisle. I was like, I want everything. I want to try it all.
Uh-huh, for sure.
I forgot how amazing it is.
Yeah.
Okay. And on the flip side, what has been the pit of your week?
I think that I set really high expectations for myself. So I did not make New York Times bestseller, which is nearly okay. Everyone keeps saying, yes, it's nearly impossible, but it's still possible. And I really wanted to hit that. And if I had hit that, then I really think my book would have gone just to the stratosphere as far as sales go. I did not have any idea how hard it would be to sell a book. I have 800,000 followers on TikTok and Instagram, and I did not sell 800,000 books. And I think that you put so much content out there. And I'm like, I've put out free content for a decade plus, and buy
Mhm.
this dang book and support this book. But I think it's really, really hard to sell books. The book did not make New York Times bestseller, although it outsold some on the list, but it's just
Yeah.
very hard to make it. It's not just about sales. So that was I was really, really bummed about that, because it's a great way to kind of get the word out about your story. But that is
Yeah.
my pit, and I know that sounds a little bit maybe a little bit crazy, but I've just it's really hard to market and sell a book. It's really hard to market and sell anything, but I
Mhm.
find it's easier to sell like multi-thousand-dollar Christmas cruises than to get people to read. So
Yeah, no, and what stood out to me right there is that you said that your book outsold some of the books on the New York Times bestseller list,
mhm.
and that doesn't make sense to me. For one, I feel like you are a bestseller. Like, that
It's a
is
super
crazy.
subjective
I don't
list. It's
understand it.
subjective. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not just, everyone. So everyone who made the list was already a former New York Times bestseller or was on the list already. So it's tough, but yeah. Once you're on the
Yeah,
list,
I'm
it's
sorry.
easier to get the next time.
Mhm. My followers know that I am positive poly, so this is me telling you there's a yet behind that. Like, I still think it could happen, especially if you're selling that well. Like, let's put this out there. Everyone go buy her book. Let's make it happen. It's gonna happen for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but I can imagine that that would be tough. You pour your heart and soul into something and you want
Sure.
that outcome. So I get
Yeah.
it for sure. My pit of the week is I need more time in the day. Just after moving, I forgot like how much I had to do to move into this house and like get regular life back up and going. I just feel like I am moving at a snail's pace even though I'm, working on overspeed. So just one of those weeks, but
I think
yeah.
moving is such an emotionally draining and as well as physically draining, everything draining thing. It doesn't matter if you're moving down the street or across the world.
Mhm.
It's so much effort. And it's funny because I always thought I would live in Dallas, and now I've moved abroad twice. And my
Yeah.
husband and I will be like, why are we doing this to ourselves? Like, because it ends up being worth it, but it's so hard. It's so much work.
It's so hard. Yeah, especially moving overseas. Like you said, it's definitely just moving from house to house is really hard to make your home feel like home again, but you kind of like I say I black out and I forget how much goes into it and I'm like, "Dang, this is
Right.
a lot. Why am I doing this?"
Mhm. For
Yeah.
sure.
So, moving back then, I know you live in England now, but when you said you'd never stepped foot in Germany before, what sparked that desire for you to even move to Germany?
That's really truly what my book is about. So I kind of basically a series of events happened, but I was working a normal 9 to 5, um, working in marketing, and then I fell rock climbing and I broke my ankle and leg, and then we went on this trip to Europe to a music festival called Tomorrowland, which is like the largest electronic dance music festival in the world. And we went to Paris and Amsterdam, and we didn't sleep. We basically didn't sleep on that trip. I mean, we averaged like 4 or 5 hours a day, and because we were trying to see so much. And at the time, I had 5 days off a year. Um, I had holidays, but I had 5 days off a year, and I thought, like, okay, I cannot keep living life like this. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but my husband and I are like, the best way that we would be able to see the world would be to move to Europe. Like, let's see more of Europe. Let's move. And it took us 3 years. We saved up $45,000. And, on the side, I thought I was going to get a job. I was working in marketing, and I thought I could take that job overseas because they were starting to have people work from home. But my book does catalog like how this happened and why we chose Germany, and the reason that we picked it. A big reason is it. We didn't pick it just because it fit like a job. We picked it because it fit what we wanted out of an experience to live abroad. So centrally located in Europe, Heidelberg is where we chose, which is beautiful. Very European castles, river running through town, 16th century buildings, and so we really felt like this would be. Oh, it's hailing. um,
Oh my gosh.
it's hailed on and off today. But if yeah, I've got some hail in my hair.
I'm
If
sorry.
No, it's fine. If we picked a place that would really fit all of these different places that we had in mind, I'm gonna go tuck under here. Um, sorry, but
No,
it ended
that's
up being.
okay.
See, this is a beautiful background though. It ended up being the
Yeah.
best possible place. Here we go for us. This is even better. Maybe wind that down.
Yeah.
Um,
Welcome to England, just
yeah.
interspersed hail.
Oh my gosh, that's been tough for me too. Okay, that's probably better. Yeah. Okay. But it ended up being the best place for us. And really, the book is about me realizing, how could I choose this place? It's not just about moving abroad. It's not just about me starting a business as a travel blogger and influencer. The book is about kind of taking risks and taking stock of your life and realizing that you can make a change and you can find what works for you. So Germany really was not a place that I even had on my radar before, but it was the perfect place to move abroad to.
Yeah, I can totally see that in the middle of Europe, like you can drive
Yeah.
to so many different countries.
Yes.
Yeah.
France, Belgium, Netherlands, Switzerland, Austria, Italy. It's all right there.
Yeah, and that is exactly why I wanted to have you on the podcast because I most of my followers and listeners are military families, and I think, depending on how you look at it, but I think that we have such an advantage of moving all the time.
Yes.
And whether it's in the States or like my husband's specific job, most active duty bases are overseas.
Yes.
So it's such an opportunity. And I love, like, I swear every time I look at your story, you're like, Michael just booked us a trip and we're leaving in 10 hours. I gotta
Yeah.
go back. See you
Yeah.
later.
I think
And
like
you're,
what was interesting is our friends live on base in Ramstein, and they're
oh,
coming. We just saw them at the Robovale Christmas Market, which is, if you've never been to Robovale for Christmas, it is probably my biggest wreck, especially if you have children, because they have. I mean, it's all free and everything is geared towards kids. It only happens 2 weekends a year, but we just met them, and I think what's really interesting is I've you often meet expats when you're overseas. And it's really interesting how people take an approach to their life abroad. Moving abroad is hard.
Mhm.
Absolutely. It's very hard. It's a different language or culture. It's everything feels differently. But you're only going to appreciate it once you get out there and experience it as it's intended to. So
Mhm.
even you're going to have peaks and pits, you're going to have terrible, terrible days. I think it's almost like this, super highs and super low lows, but the low lows are made worth it when you go out and explore. And it takes a little bit of effort, but it's always worth it. Our friends that are on the base in Ramstein, they're coming to visit us in Oxford with their two kids next week or the week after next. And, they kind of make an effort to constantly go out and see things and um, go on a hike or go to the museum or all of these different things. And I think that it is definitely an effort, but it's always worth it.
Yeah, 100%. It is an effort and it takes a minute to plan it or try to put it together, but it really is what you make it. And you can, spend 3 years in Italy and visit 30 countries, or you can visit two, or not even one. And it's all in what you make of it,
Yeah,
100%. Um, and budget is a thing that I do want to get into with you, but I feel like you and Michael are so good at finding like those hidden gems. Obviously, we all want to go to the cities and the cool places that everyone knows about, but what I found to be some of my most fun trips were those places I've never heard of before. So,
totally.
how do you guys find those places?
I think first and foremost, it comes from asking people questions, just talking to locals. For instance, I'm in the Lake District right now, and we just went to Lothar Castle, and there was a couple there, and they hear our accents, and they're like, "Oh, where are you from? We're from Texas. Oh, we're from this area. Okay, where should we go? What should we do?" And I mean, I Michael is really good about this in the sense that he is not shy at all. So he'll sit there and ask them, "Okay, how do you spell that? What do you recommend? What do we need to see?" And I think that like we always make a map. So a number one tip for anybody who's traveling anywhere is to make a map of all of the places you would like to go, and that way when you're traveling somewhere that you definitely want to go, you can make sure you're not missing something along the way. So we always make a map and just doing a little bit of research beforehand. I mean, we do tons of research. Michael does the research, so we work together, and he does the um, research side of things. I do like the creative side, so the Instagram posts and things like that. But yeah, we always look at different blogs and websites, and then I try to write every single thing that down that we do, so other people can explore it as well.
I know you do. I took advantage of it for sure. Pause really quick. When you talk, try to cover your speaker because the wind is kind of coming through. Um, but
Let me see if I
uh,
go. I'm so sorry.
no, that's okay. I get it. We're trying to do all the
Try over here.
things.
Let me try over here.
I appreciate it. Sorry.
Oh, no, no, no. I think this is better. This should be
Okay, that is sounding better.
okay.
Yeah, that's better.
And if it was better over there, it has stopped hailing. So if it was
Okay.
better over there, let me know.
Actually, this is pretty good. I can't really hear anything right now, so
Okay,
I
I'm in
think we
like a
found it.
little cave.
Little hut. Oh my gosh, I love it. But yes, I know I've taken advantage of your and Michael's research because I'm not joking. Every time I planned a trip, I looked at Google, Pinterest, and your blog for every trip that I
That
did.
means a lot. We do put a lot of effort into planning, so we try to like share the exact plans that we do with details and true
Yeah.
commentary of what we think is worth it or not.
Yeah, when you say detail, like I just want to say this because everyone who's living overseas, you have to look at her blog. But I remember reading your Rome itinerary, and you were like, at 3 o'clock, we went and had a picnic at this park in Travis, and we got a baguette and prosciutto from this little like deli shop. And I just really appreciate all of that effort that you guys do because you really do find some of the coolest gems over in Europe. But all that said, I do kind of feel like travel is an art or maybe a skill. Like you're not born with it, you have to learn how to do it. So, when did you start this love for travel that you have?
I think that's with anything though. Anything can have and like you can get better over time. People are always like, "How do you pack?" I only pack in a carry-on. How do you pack in a carry-on? I mean, I just did a 11-day trip across America where I needed to look presentable every single day. And I did it, in a carry-on. And I think that like it is a skill where you can get better over time. And I definitely think that with travel, it's the similar thing. So I grew up with my parents who taught a study abroad program in London. My parents are both college professors. Before that, they were journalists, so big writing background in my family. But they taught a study abroad program in London. And then Michael's first trip abroad, my husband, we met in high school. His first trip abroad was when we were 17. But it didn't really click about how much I loved to travel until we took that first trip to Tomorrowland, where we went to this music festival in Belgium and Amsterdam and Paris. And from there, we decided to do one large trip every year. But the skill I would say in traveling really came when we moved to Europe. We moved to Germany in 2016, and we basically went insane, and we haven't stopped ever since. And I think you just kind of pick it up along the way. I do think like the more you travel, the better you get at it. um, and I think the more you travel, the more comfortable you become in the decisions you make about travel, and not being fearful of the world. And I mean, I'll even do solo trips. I feel pretty confident in places I go and what I see and do. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of skill, as you say, in just doing something a lot.
Yeah, practice makes perfect.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. So if someone were to ask you, like, why value travel? Why, what does it add to your life? What would you say?
I think that the most the key to life, the key to happiness, is simply being curious about the world around you. I think that if you can be curious about the world around you and want to learn more, you're going to have a better life, because it gives you an understanding of the entire, not just about people and the place and the history, but really a whole picture of why are we on this planet and why are we doing what we do. And I think, if why do we go to school? We go to school to learn so that we can become better people, so that we can have good jobs. And I think you can continue your education by traveling. I just think the more I travel, the more I want to see, the more I want to do. And there's just such a benefit in traveling and experiencing a different culture and different way of life, even if that's outside your back door. I lived in Germany from 2016 through 2019, moved back to America, and we RV'd across America for 4 years. And I went to places that I'd never been to before. And, I don't think that America is as diverse as Europe, but it has a lot of diversity from state to state. And I really feel like I got so much out of being in those places and seeing those things.
Yeah, 100%. Um, I remember during your RV trip, you went to White Sands National Park. What's happening?
So sorry.
That's okay.
Awesome, interesting.
Oh, oh my gosh.
In case you leave this in here, I'm very sorry. I am in the Lake District, and this is the only place that I've driven around for an hour looking for Wi-Fi. This is the only place. There's literally sheep all around. I can see the mountains, and I apparently, like, I was getting away from the hail that started in this level, and now it's bright blue sunny sky,
Oh
and
my
I
gosh.
found the men's restroom. So
That is hilarious. I was like, wait, it sounds really good. Where are you going?
a guy came in. He goes, "Hello," and I thought, okay, I need to leave now.
Oh my gosh. See, this like I feel like stuff like this happens when you live overseas because you don't necessarily know like what the pictures
Yes,
are or whatever.
of
And
course.
all of the funny stories, like,
Yes,
oh my gosh,
exactly. Yep.
that's hilarious.
But
But I completely agree. I remember on your RV trip, you guys went to White Sands National Park in Alamogordo, New Mexico, and we lived there for a year, which, their claim to fame is having like six Taco Bells in White Sands National Park. And
that's amazing.
but I do wish that we had the same mentality that we sort of developed when we lived overseas when we lived there, because there was so much, like you said, that we could have gone to. It was just a little bit more of a drive, but we could have made it so more zestful. You just have to be willing to, go out and
That's
do
true.
it.
Yeah, I will say the wonderful thing about Europe is it is so dense and there's so much in such a little space. I mean, we lived in
For sure.
Heidelberg. We were 45 minutes to France. We were an hour to Switzerland, 3 hours to Austria. So it was just silly. So for me, I live in Dallas. I'm 3 hours to Houston, Texas. Why would I go there? you know?
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
we keep saying like, we're like, oh, we're as far to Houston right now. But I'm in the Lake District, which is so different from Oxford. So
Yeah, no, I relate. Like when we lived in Alamogordo, El Paso, Texas was like 45 minutes away,
yeah,
and that's where we would go for date nights and whatever, because that's where the restaurants were. And then when we moved to Italy, we lived in it's a town called Sicile. If you haven't been, you have to go.
I have.
But it's 45 minutes north of Venice.
Uh-huh.
And I just remember being like, oh my gosh, Venice is our new El Paso. That
Uh,
is insane.
exactly. Yes. So our friends are here and they live in, so our friends are actually crazy, live in Croatia now. They're from Dallas too, like our same neighborhood in
Wow.
Dallas. They moved to Pula, Croatia, and their Houston, and we keep saying this on this trip, their Houston is Venice. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh,
It's crazy. You can literally drive even, like, where we
crazy.
lived was kind of in the Sorry, what'd you say?
I didn't. I didn't.
Oh, sorry. Kinda went out. But yeah, it's crazy, like, you can go, 2 hours and you're in the mountains, or you go 2 hours the other way and you're in wine country, and
Exactly.
it is pretty amazing in Europe, how close everything is.
Right.
Um, but I wanted to ask you too, what are a few of the big, like, standout, maybe life lessons that you've learned from traveling and living overseas?
I think that what I find very, very interesting, and I don't know, how you feel about this, but what is so pervasive online right now is I moved to Europe because America is horrible. And I don't feel like that at all. I feel like moving to Europe actually gave me a deeper sense of appreciation from coming from America and the absolute privilege we have to be able to move overseas with relative ease. It's definitely hard to move overseas, but the ease and sense of your passport is valid almost everywhere. You are welcomed most of the time. And I think it gave me an appreciation for the way I grew up and the huge benefits that I was given to be from America. And I think the more I've traveled, the more I have an appreciation for the US. I am not sure where I'm going to live. We plan to live in Oxford for 2 years. I'm not sure where to live. I find there's just so much beauty and great places across the world. But I think this idea that America is a bad place, or people keep saying a third world country with a Gucci belt, I think is an incredibly privileged and terrible thing to say, um, because we're lucky that we get to be from a country that reaches out to other countries and has relationships with other countries so that we can move abroad. That's hugely something that I've learned over the years. Something else I've learned, I think, that is that people are mostly good. Most people are, it doesn't matter if they're in Albania or France or Italy or England or Kentucky. Most people are going to work and trying to put food on the table and trying to be happy and make a good life for their family. And you can experience that almost everywhere. And I find that really incredible. I think that's a lot of times online, there's a lot of negativity. And I think that for whatever reason, it kind of is propped up by social media. Anything slightly controversial tends to do well, which is unfortunate. But I don't find that in the world.
Yeah.
I find that most people are good and happy and want to talk to you about what's going on in their life in a good way. And I definitely think the thing that I've learned as well, especially living in Europe, is how much we can learn about our society and the way it is today by traveling, by going to different places and going to a museum or talking to people and learning just how we came to be. I think that history is kind of malleable with time, and we don't always have a clear picture of it, but the more I travel, the more I think I learn.
100%. I am so glad to hear you say that and resonate so much because we lived in Italy during COVID. We moved there right before COVID started. We were there for 3 years, and that experience made me so grateful to be American. And don't
Yes,
get me
it's
wrong, I
so
loved living in Italy, but you're exactly right. Like the privilege that we have, I was like, I would, be in, we had much different regulations in Italy. It was very strict. I had a drone outside my house one time. Like I couldn't use my front yard. It was wild. And I just remember hearing everyone complaining in America and, COVID aside, whatever, it just made me very happy to be from such a free country with the possibility of the American dream. So I could
absolutely.
not relate to that more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I think for me also, I did not live in Germany during COVID. I happened to move back right before, and happened to get an RV when the rest of the world also decided to get an RV, which was funny. But
Yeah.
for sure, I had my eye and ear very close to COVID happening in Germany because I still had lots of friends there, and it was really different. And I think that no one knows the right or wrong approach to life, but I do think that I would have had a hard time living in Germany during COVID. And yeah, I think that definitely gives you a good perspective on why that matters. And I agree.
100%. Yeah, I completely agree. So on that note, what are a few things that you miss about America when you're living overseas?
I think the number one thing is convenience. I think that
Yes.
I I
Agreed.
I it's so interesting. I was having this conversation today with our friends that live in Croatia now. So they've been in Croatia 1 year. They're just spending a year abroad. And he mentioned that the convenience adds to the joy of living in America, but the non-convenience almost adds to the joy of living in Europe. It's inconvenient.
Yeah.
There's not parking. Things are closed, but that also adds to the beauty. Like I cannot find a parking spot, but it's because there's no parking. We don't have parking lots, but it's so
Yeah.
beautiful. And you've got like I was just in Germany not yesterday, but the day before yesterday, and I was driving down the Rhine River, which is the Rhine River Valley has the most concentration of castles than anywhere else in the world. And there's literally
Oh
40
my
castles in like 50 miles. So every other
God.
mile
Wow.
there's a castle. And I'm driving, and then so you've got the river, the Rhine Valley, and the castles. And then on the other side, you have the half timbered Tudor homes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is absolutely beautiful. There's the castle. There was no parking. Where do we park? But it does distract from the absolutely gorgeous surroundings. So I think the number one thing I miss is the convenience. I mean, I was just in America for my book tour, and I needed a curling iron. And we went to Chick-fil-A, went through the drive-through, pulled out. Michael, parked, and we are there at in Target, and we're gone in 5 minutes. I was like, that would have taken an hour and a half anywhere else in Europe. So I
Yes.
think I really do miss that convenience. And I obviously miss my family, but as like a real, day to day thing, I do miss the convenience.
Yeah, no, I relate so much, and when you say that, I feel like when people hear you say that, they think like DoorDash and having all of these options when you go to the store, and that's not what we're talking about. Like, I know for me, like especially when we lived in Korea, this was valid in Italy too, but it was just the idea of like going to which, on the one hand, like you said, it makes it more amazing because that's what adds to the zest of living over there, but like I love spaghetti squash and I love making a lot of different things, but there's not a lot of different foods available. And
That's so true.
that part can be kind of annoying.
That is so
Um,
true.
so
That makes me think about pumpkin. I love like pumpkin soup,
yes.
pumpkin bread, but they didn't in Germany. They never had canned pumpkins. They do have Libby canned pumpkin in the UK, but they didn't in Germany. And I remember telling a German friend, and they were like, okay, it's not a big deal. Go get a pumpkin, cut it in half, remove all the seeds. Well, when you're carving a pumpkin for Halloween and you're removing the seeds and you're like, is this going to take much longer? Because I am
All
tired.
day. Yeah.
Cut it in half, chop it up, then put it in your oven, then roast it for 45 minutes to 3 hours. Okay. At this point, I'm talking about like I could have cracked open a can and there we have it. It's just,
Yes.
there's some things that canned pumpkin, you don't really need to do all this to get the flavor of canned pumpkin. And yeah, those are those convenient things that you miss.
Yeah, that's so funny you say that. We on base, we have some American things,
Right.
one of them being canned pumpkin during the fall, and we were rationed. Like you couldn't buy more than 2 per
Oh,
person because they were like, "Everyone wants this."
that's awesome. I
Oh,
could
that's so funny. Yeah, I relate to that so much. Okay, so in terms of living, now that you've lived in Germany and in England, um, how have they been different for you? And maybe which one are you liking more?
I cannot choose which one I like more. And I know that's not fair, but I have only spent 6 months in England, and most of that time has been traveling just an insane amount. When we moved to Germany, I talked about this a lot. I have actually, so I moved abroad being like the biggest homebody in the world, and I have a lot of fear. I'm a very fearful person, and I had just started a business, and I move all of these to all of these comforts behind to try and live in Germany. That was just so completely foreign. So the first few months, I didn't really leave Germany at all. So I really did get to experience a lot of Germany. And we have been here 6 months in England, and I have been to 12 countries in the past 6 months.
Oh
And
my gosh.
like, we've barely been home. So it's been a lot of travel. But I would say the main difference that I can point to is the people. First and foremost, obviously, it's, they're speaking English, but I am so incredibly shocked by the kindness of British people. I mean,
Yeah.
they are like jolly and happy and in a true, no, genuine way, like absolutely happy, kind, fun people. And that is, Germany was a little bit more uptight. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that is a bad thing at all, but just kind of a difference in attitude. And I'm really into World War II history, and I think that you can even see that when you read books. Now that I've lived in
Mhm.
those two countries and I read, different books, Eric Larson. Um, just wrote a book about Churchill. It's really good. I recommend it. And, it's really interesting to see the different attitudes during war as well. And I think that that still prevails it's pervasive in the individual as well.
Yeah, for sure. I love how into the history of it all that you are because I think that the travel, especially in Europe, without the history piece is sort of irrelevant. Like it is, my dad always says, like, if you don't learn history, it's bound to repeat itself. And
For
that's
sure.
so true. Like there's so much to learn and it's just surrounding you
Yes.
everywhere.
Yep. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But I can see that for sure, the different, like, cultures and the way that people,
Right.
are in their day-to-day lives, it's pretty apparent. What were some of the culture shock moments you had when you moved to England?
I think I I do love talking about this on Instagram as well.
I
I
know, I
think
love those.
the food has been really funny to me. I think people think that British food is bad, and I think that it's been really delicious. Like really, yes. Hi, I can go out that way. Okay, thank you, thank you. He started. I
Okay.
think I think the culture shocks for me have been number one, the people are super kind and jovial, but the food has been really good. The food is incredible, and I really think that the words that they use are so different. Like I think
Mhm.
I speak English, but I just learned like 15 ways to say like he's a bad guy the other day. He's a rake.
Yeah.
Never heard in life. A rotter. Apparently that one's in Harry Potter. I just don't remember. But yeah, just they have a lot of nicknames for everything in like the cutest way ever. Like nothing is ever what it seems. Last night at dinner, they were like, "Oh, here's your mozzie sticks, mozzarella."
What? Oh.
Just everything has a nickname. Instead of Sainsbury's, it's Sainzo's, the grocery store. Instead of Marks and Sparks, Arsla, the grocery store. Instead of Marks and Spencer's, it's Marks and Sparks. So everything just has a nickname, and they're just, all these stories come from here. Like Harry Potter, where I'm in Beatrix Potterland right now. But all of these Shakespeare, Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, all of these stories come from here. And I've always wondered about that. And now I can see it. It just feels like a fairy tale, but also the people. The people are odd in a funny way. And I mean that so nicely. They're just jovial, happy people. It's like everyone is Santa Claus or something.
No, I love that. I don't know why it's bringing me back to the idea of having spontaneity in your life and, wanting to have that spontaneity to travel no matter where it is. Just having that, like the word you're using is jovial. I love that in everyday life. Like, it's not that serious. Like, whatever, he's a rotter, whatever that means.
I think another culture shock that I had is the weather. I have
Mm.
been to London almost a dozen times growing up because my parents taught a study abroad program in London in the summer. And it has been the wettest winter on record in Oxford. And so that weather has been shocking. But it's almost like despite the weather, they're really happy. So that's been really
Yeah.
interesting.
And that is really also kind of a skill. Like, I wonder if they pass that down or have like tricks for, what do they call it? Like seasonal blues or whatever. Have you heard that? Do they have any
Yes.
tricks for
Yeah,
that? Okay.
they do. I mean, they have like the sad lamps. They have, which I got one of
Mm.
those. Yeah, I think they just overall their attitude is a little different in a great way.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that. Do you have any traditions that you've learned that you want to bring back to wherever you live after you live in England?
Definitely a tradition that I want to bring back are Christmas crackers. I'd never done that before. I got
Ooh.
so much heat when I talked about this on Instagram. Everyone was like, so many people were like, I've had those. Well, I haven't. And so, in case you haven't had them, it is not a
I've never
food.
heard of it.
Thank you. Okay, great. Christmas crackers, they look almost like a firework. But they're little slivers of round paper with like, it almost looks like somebody wraps something round because at the end they kind of flare out. And what you do is you cross hands with someone. Usually you do it at dinner, Christmas dinner. They love to have Christmas dinner, by the way. And that does not mean Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. You can have Christmas dinner the whole season and it's a whole spread and everyone gets together and either goes to a restaurant or has
Love.
dinner at home. That I love. And so everyone at the table holds hands, crisscrosses, and then pulls the Christmas crackers. So you have a Christmas cracker in either hand. Whoever has more of the cracker in your hand, you kind of win. But inside is a paper crown that you wear all through dinner. It doesn't matter how posh and cool you are, you wear a paper crown all throughout dinner. We were at like a nice Michelin star restaurant. Everyone there has a paper crown on their head. Okay. This isn't people wearing really cool outfits. Everyone has a paper crown and it has a little joke and usually like a little prize. And that is so British and I love it so much.
That's so cute. I've never heard of that.
It's awesome.
It's reminding me, okay, this could be weird. It's reminding me of a cruise ship. You know, when you have the dinner, you have to like spin the napkin above your head.
Yeah,
That's what it's
okay. Yeah.
reminding me of.
I could see that exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of cruise ships, you're so creative when it comes to travel. Like when you decided to take the cruise back to America, when you moved from Germany, to, lessen the hassle with your dogs and everything. I just feel like those type of things take a lot of digging. And is it just what we were talking about where you guys just do a lot of research, or how do you have that creativity when it comes to
Well,
travel?
so we moved abroad with our dogs and twice. And so to move home from Germany, um, we felt like a really great way to move was to take them on this ship. It's the only cruise ship in the world, Cunard Queen Mary 2 is the only cruise ship in the world that allows dogs. No other ship allows dogs, and it's a wonderful experience. It is the Titanic. It's the same like ship, same
Oh
route.
my
We
gosh.
got out of Portsmouth, land in New York, and it really feels like the Titanic. It's absolutely beautiful. It's really fun. The English ballet was there on board, like for the entertainment. It was incredible. But yeah, so my husband did the research on that and found this and thought this would be a unique way. I think we are kind of we think about like, is this going to be fun for us and is this going to be helpful for our dogs? If those two boxes are
Mhm.
checked, we're probably going to do it. So that was that
Yeah,
was fun.
that was That was so cool. So it sounds like it's just a lot of research. Like we said, traveling is kind of a skill. You have to put a lot of effort into it sometimes. But you've had so many cool experience from basically being on the Titanic to, lunch in the Alps and Christmas markets and Oktoberfest and all of these things. What are a few top standout experiences that if there's someone's living in Europe right now, what would you tell them? Like, you have to do this.
Oktoberfest is definitely number one. I think that
Agreed.
Oktoberfest is just, I mean, I think that people think of it not for families too, but it's so great for
Yeah.
every single age. Go during the week. If you can go during the week and go in the early part of the day so that you can avoid the crowds and go to all the different tents. There's rides, there's games. I'm not a beer drinker and I absolutely love it. And it is the one time that I will drink beer. So I absolutely love Oktoberfest. The next one I would say is definitely the tulips in the Netherlands. I think it is one of the most epically beautiful, just shocking, beautiful thing. And then my third is you have to go to the Christmas markets, especially the ones in Germany. My favorites are Germany and France. I do like the ones in Austria too, but Germany and France really kind of nails it. When it comes to the Christmas markets, Germany really started them, and then the Alsace region really has some wonderful ones too. I think that the Christmas markets are something that are so unique to Europe. They've tried to do them in America and Chicago and Denver. I hated them. Sorry. But I absolutely love the Christmas markets so much. I think they're just so unique and so special. And that's why, so we started, I really got obsessed. I basically tried to figure out how I can bring people to my obsessions. So we started doing group trips to the Christmas markets, and they were selling out so fast that we were like, okay, well, let's charter a cruise ship. And that went so fast too. So that went even faster than we chartered a cruise ship and it sold out instantly. And so we chartered another cruise ship and it sold out instantly. But I just absolutely love Christmas markets. And I really like seeing them either on a road trip or doing a river cruise because it's easy. You just on a moving hotel and luxury hotel. And
Yeah. Yeah, when I saw you were doing Christmas market cruises, I was like, I am so jealous of all my friends living in Europe right now because I would have been on that in a heartbeat. Can we talk a little bit more about that? Where are your cruises going? How long are they? Are there any more available?
no. We are working on 2025 cruises, but
Okay.
we had no idea the reaction we were going to get. So we started with a 2024 Christmas. It goes like December 14th through the 21st. It starts in Cologne and ends in Cologne, so we were really, really cognizant of people flying in and out. Most people are flying from America. So
Mhm.
most people are coming from America. My parents are coming. And one thing, basically, we've taken our knowledge from the past 10 years of travel and built a itinerary around that. So, for instance, I just did a trip, a smaller group trip with 25 people, and it started in Munich and ended in Vienna. And no, not a single person could get a direct flight home. And we thought, okay, that
Wow.
sucks. I don't want to do that. So basically, the cruises start and end in the same place, which helps people so much for travel, especially during the holidays, which can be kind of stressful. And we picked every single destination, every stop. So it goes from Cologne to Strasbourg to Koblenz to Heidelberg, which is where we lived in Germany, which is one of my favorite Christmas market places, to Gengenbach, goes through the Black Forest. And basically, we structured it so everyone can do two excursions a day. Most river cruises, you can only do one and you have to choose. And I couldn't stomach that because I definitely want to go on a wine tour and to go to the Black Forest. So everything
Yeah,
is set
duh.
that you can go to both. Um, which you don't have to. Most people, some people might just choose one, some might choose none of them and just do their own thing. But we basically wanted to maximize the time in the Christmas markets.
Okay, 2025. I need to make a timer when you say that that's going to go for sale
Mhm.
because I will be
Yes.
there.
You should come. They
That
are
sounds like
I'm
such a
really
dream.
excited. We're
My sister
trying
and I have been talking about it already.
Yeah, y'all should. I'm really excited about the destinations next year because we're going to add same as last this year, and then we're going to add on new destinations and totally different itinerary too. So we're hoping to have three
Yeah.
or four.
Wow, that sounds incredible. And I know this is probably an impossible question, but I have to ask it. Give me maybe your top three favorite Christmas
I've
markets.
got it. I have it. So my top three favorites are Cologne, Germany, because it is spread throughout the city and it's absolutely beautiful. And I also am a very nostalgic person. So if I get like a good feeling about a place and I have like the best day ever, it's probably going to be up there for me. So Cologne, Germany, and then Strasbourg, France. I think Strasbourg is just a city where I really discovered a lot about myself. And about why I moved to travel Europe in the first place. So I absolutely just love Strasbourg. And it is called the capital of Christmas for a reason. So again, two bigger cities
Oh, I
with
love
Christmas
that.
markets spread throughout. And I'm going to really be, crazy here and say Heidelberg, Germany, because that is where I lived. But Heidelberg has the longest pedestrianized street in Europe. It's over a mile long, and the Christmas market takes place throughout. So it's just very easy. Germany just
Mhm.
nails that. They do, I mean, they're so well organized and their Christmas markets reflect that. And Heidelberg, you just
Yeah.
walk down the street and it's all different little themed Christmas markets. And I love it.
Yeah, wow, that sounds incredible. We planned a trip to go to, we were going to the one in Oberammergau. I don't know if you've been to that one, but it was during COVID and they canceled it the day before we got there. And I was so, so depressed. So I've never been to one in Germany. Yeah, so sad.
I'm sorry
So
about that.
2025, I'm gonna
Yeah.
be on your cruise with you.
Yeah.
So, it sounds like it's gonna be a no, but do you have any in America that you did like or not really?
Christmas markets, no. I mean, I've been to the big ones, Denver and Chicago, and no. I think what I love about America, one of my favorite travel aspects in America is fall in New England. I think that's absolutely magical, wonderful, special. The history there is also incredible. And then I really love like a southern road trip, like
Yeah.
Florida, through Louisiana. I'm from Louisiana. My family's from Louisiana. I'm from Texas, but my family's from Louisiana. And I think you've got these gargantuan trees and really good cooking and great music. So I like that as well in America.
Yeah, there are a few hidden gems that we can find for sure. Um, okay, so what is the most overrated place you've ever been and the most underrated place you've ever been?
I hate, and I will never go back to Luxembourg. And
Wow, okay.
I'm not sure that it's overrated. I just have a very big personal vendetta against Luxembourg.
Why?
Think it's not. I think there's so much amazingness in Europe, and Luxembourg just really. I didn't like it, and I love everywhere. That's the thing about me is like I usually like everywhere because I find something of interest there. I think something that's underrated that is well worth it is the Southern English coast. I think it's one of the reasons why we moved here. Like you look like you're in Tahiti. The water is so beautiful, and then you have these stone
Wow.
cottages and the pasties from Cornwall, like really good food and sheep everywhere, like little lambs running around, daffodils lining the streets, suicidal pheasants because they're crossing the road so rapidly. They're absolutely gorgeous birds. So I really, really love that. And I also think that Austria is underrated. I think a lot of times people go to Switzerland, which is about triple the price, and you can get the same vibe in Austria.
Ooh, that's a good tip. I like that one. Agreed. Switzerland is so expensive. I spent $100 to go on a gondola.
I believe it. Which honestly though, that's cheaper than America. The like
Yeah, true.
car the the lifts up are like anywhere from 150 to $500 these days. I did just go to
I'm
Switzerland
talking
this
in the
summer.
summer.
Okay, well, that is high, but I
Yeah.
did I recently was in Big Sky, Montana. We were like, "Oh, let's take the lift
Yeah.
up." And they were like, "That's 500 per person in the summer."
Oh, oh my, excuse,
Okay. That should be illegal.
That's outrageous. No, that is literally that should be illegal. That's insane.
It's
What?
almost like you might as well fly. If you like skiing, you might as well just fly to like Austria. We go sledding, we don't ski because
Literally.
I did tear my ACL in Austria skiing, so I'm done with that. But I mean, we just went sledding, I will say, in Switzerland, and it was probably under the whole time we went sledding, like with hotel, food, drinks, everything was under 2,000 for the week per person.
Dang. Yeah, no, that's good to know. You're real about like your husband going skiing and everyone going snowboarding and whatever. And you going sledding was I was like, that's my girl. That screw the skiing.
Yeah,
I'm going on a sled.
sledding is just as fun.
Yeah, no, it 100% is. But that's a really good tip. I love that. Speaking of which, do you have a couple of tips for traveling on a budget? Any hacks that you can give?
I think that you can find budget. I think that most places in Europe, it's because it's so densely populated, there's so much competition. So if you can be flexible with where you're going, you can find cheap flights. If you can be flexible with where you're staying, you can find it cheaper. If you just stay slightly outside of the city center, I'm a big fan of renting a car. And the reason being is because, yes, you do add the expense of the car, but you can stay a little bit outside of the city centers and end up getting a really cheap place that's usually in an absolutely gorgeous area. And we
Mhm.
use booking.com and just sort for 8.0 and above with a private bathroom, Wi-Fi and a bathroom, and the necessities, and usually AC, if I'm in Italy or somewhere warmer. And yeah, you end up finding really just some great places that are, I mean, pretty cheap. I mean, your Norways and
Yeah.
Icelands, they're not as cheap, but I think really most of the rest of Europe, besides Scandinavia, can be pretty cheap.
Yeah, agreed.
In
We
the
found
grocery
that for
store,
sure.
in the
And
grocery store. Go to the grocery store
yeah,
and get
yeah,
food
so
there.
true.
Great way to get good food.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. When we moved to Korea, I was expecting to have the same thing, and I was like, "Oh, it's expensive here. Never mind." Yeah.
Really one time.
Okay, so to okay,
Sorry.
that's okay. No worries.
Go.
All right, so
I
to
keep going. Go soon. I'm very sorry.
no, all good. I was just about to wrap it up.
Perfect.
Okay. So to round us out, I just wanted to do a little this or that, first thing that comes to your mind. So this or that, Oktoberfest in Munich or in a small town?
I think in Munich. I think in
I like
Munich.
that answer. Okay. Touristy places or local unknown places?
It depends. I'm sorry. I guess I'll pick local unknown, but it does depend. I mean, the Eiffel Tower is wonderful, but so is, you know, going sheep herding in the Lake District.
Yeah, true. Depends where you are. I like that. Okay. Australia or Asia for your next big move?
Um, Australia
And then a really great restaurant or a really great hotel?
restaurant for sure.
Ooh, love. Okay. Well, I normally like to end with a little value of the week, and obviously the whole episode is value, but this is something that's adding value to your life. So it can be, a book, a podcast, anything that's making you happy, adding some sort of value to your life. I can go first, give you a second to think about it. But my value of the week this week is very simple, and you're probably going to be like, Diana, you're so stupid. Like everybody knows that, but I personally just did it. I put lilies next to my shower so that when the steam is coming in, like my bathroom smells like a garden, and I'm gonna have lilies in my bathroom every day for the rest of my life.
Oh my gosh, I'm doing this. Okay.
Yeah, you
That's
have to.
an amazing tip. I do not have a life
Yes.
earth shattering tip like that. My value for the week,
That's okay.
is I think my value for the week is embracing weather. I'm sitting out here right
Oh,
now and it is now hailing again. And I think sometimes like you can really let weather get you down no matter where you are. If you're traveling, weather is such a huge factor to like whether or not a place matters. But I think like getting through the weather and just appreciating where you are it makes such a better better experience. Perspective is really everything when you're traveling. So just kind of embracing the scenery around you, no matter the circumstances.
100% agreed. All right, so if you guys want to be inspired and maybe learn how to take hold of your life like Helene did, you have to go buy her book, 2 o'clock on a Tuesday at the Trevi Fountain. And where can everyone find you? Buy your book, follow along with everything that you're doing, maybe sign up for a cruise.
I'm Helene in Between on all social media, heleneinbetween.com online, and you can find my book there as well. But yeah, it's where everywhere where books are sold.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm so excited for you. New York best time bet Oh my goodness. New York Times bestseller. Wow, that's a mouthful.
A tongue twister.
That's a tongue twister. We're coming for you. We're gonna make it happen, and I see it in your future for sure. But thank you so much for coming on with me. This was like sort of a selfish episode. I was like, I just want to ask her about all her favorite things.
No,
Um,
thank you for having me.
yeah, thank you so much. And all right, guys, love you so much. See you next Tuesday.